take a while to hook up everybody.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
that period was like, what was it? There was several, but I think 12/12 certainly till
The
12.
21st. I moved to the 18th.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because this area, is all crystals that it's just like really took the energy. What I felt was from being a little bit more on the East Coast, it was much more of sort of the mental energy was sort of squeezing. But as soon as you came out here, it expanded it out so far. It's almost like you couldn't have that same, I don't know, mental frequencies going on, which is not a bad thing.
I was there in December. I was there.
Yeah, I know. I saw you, your birthday.
Yeah, that's right. I found a good Mexican restaurant. I had some good micheladas.
I saw that. I ran into Kamara and I asked her about that. I was like, what's that?
Oh, you ran into Kamara?
Go there. Yeah.
You ran into her?
Mm-hmm.
There's another lady over there that's very cool, Jamie Williams. She's been on the show a couple times. She lives there.
Oh, I'll have to get introduced to her. I haven't met her.
Yeah. She's a very cool lady. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So, welcome back.
Thank you.
Cathleena, new resident of Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that period. So you moved to Hot Springs 12/18. And I know that there was that period 12/12 to 12/21. And there's just, I'm looking at different people's, forecast that come on the show. Franco was one of them. Mm-hmm. Talked about that period. And then there was just, it seemed like that last week of the year was just huge. And then the first week of January was huge. January 6th was huge.
Yeah.
What is it today? January 28th?
Yeah, no, yeah.
January's been a long year. Yeah, it has been. But and I noticed, so I saw you were on an online all-day kind of seminar thing. I forget the name of it, but the theme of it was zero pointing in non-judgment, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is perfect.
So all the speakers, I think there was 9 speakers. They were all talking in that regard. I bet that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I didn't participate. I mean, it was, we were independent of each other, even though it was the Higher Self Expo, and I was the kind of the last one that came there. So it was a little hard for me being the last. Of course, everybody's already speaking, and then had so much energy that I felt I didn't participate in it in each one, but different ones. So by the end, it was like, wow, it brought a lot of energy in. And of course, the whole talking about 0 point, and I mean, everybody has kind of their own.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I didn't watch any of them, but it would be interesting to hear what 9 different people had to say about 0 point.
Yeah.
Because in this ascension, we've had these different words that get contorted. Mm-hmm. And of course, everyone's relevant. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, of course.
Like twin flame, or even the term ascension, star seed, or whatever. But 0, that would be interesting. Did you listen to most of the speakers in regard to what they had to say about it?
I didn't listen to everybody. I listened to different ones, and I think the general idea is pretty much what I feel, which is, it's that just that now moment without judgment, and how important it is to experience our emotions, and that once you allow for sort of the full, awareness of your own emotions in the now moment without any judgment, to me, that's ultimately what the 0 point is.
Well, there seems to be that seems to be a very good subject at the moment. Because and of course I think one thing that we might forget at times, I'll throw myself in there, is that these platforms, Lightworker, Starseed, Way Shower, whatever, we have the same attributes as those groups that some might call, I don't, but some might call that they're not awake or unawakened. We have the same attributes. And one of those primary attributes is judgment, because we're still finding our way through this. So 0 point without judgment, if I look at that subject, it's very interesting, because there is still a lot of polarity in these communities. And a big part of that has to do, and let's just, call the big elephant out in the room, right? But a lot of it has to do with the politics in America, which, there's certain school of thoughts that say that, there's white hats and, and it's a spiritual war and you're either on the one side or the other. There's a lot of projection, there's a lot of, polarization. And I just find that interesting because if we are what we say we are, way showers, then that would seem to me to be one of the biggest dominoes that we could knock down would be, what they titled a 0-point non-judgment. Mm-hmm. So how does that apply? Because one of the things I notice is there's a lot of external projection, not necessarily loud posts or comments, but certainly our thoughts, even if we don't post something, they're still very formidable, if not the most formidable force we have. Thoughts tied to our imagination, tied to our abilities as a quantum creator. But what I'm getting at is, I don't know, maybe it's not talked about enough, but regardless, oneness is oneness. I mean, how do you feel about this? I mean, how do you feel about one side saying, or at least one school of thought saying, hey, you're either on this side of the issue or the other side?
Yeah.
To me, that immediately points to separation. And I think we're here to promote unity consciousness, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, the way that I see it is that when you talk about the non-judgment, it absolutely is. I think we can all agree or disagree, I guess, is that there is an ascension aspect, and what that is just. I mean, we could go so simple and just say from your own, anybody's perspective, it's about getting to know who you are, what you like, what you want, why you're here, how you're here to show up. And so if we could take that from a little tiny you and just people who aren't awake of anything about ascension or anything like that, and they're still in that process, there's still this kind of, as you go through your chronological development, you're still waking up to who you are. There's this progression, if you choose to. I mean, that's always a choice. And so I kind of look at it when I think about this idea of 0 point or non-judgment. It's really a place of being in whatever it is that feels authentic to your own heart, and coming from a place of really allowing within your own self sort of the permission for everybody else to have their own voice and their own heart as well. It doesn't mean you got to agree with them. It doesn't mean anything, but that's that kind of just, being able to step back enough to just allow for whatever somebody to be able to express themselves. And what I'm watching playing out in this whole sort of dichotomy thing that's playing out is only the reason that it is sort of doing it, and there is kind of a reason for it from my perspective, is just because we're in a space-time continuum, and because of that, there's this time thing that means that there's what we think of a progression, and so this is all part of the plan. It's like anyone. If you think about it just from your individual self, if you're just a person all by yourself and you're deciding what you want to do, I mean, there's this decision making going on inside of you. There's this dialoguing, right? Do I want it? Don't I? What do I? And to me, that's what's playing out on the little level and the big level. And it's only happening because, especially because of the way that everything's been created. It's been created as a duality, which ultimately really isn't the way it's meant to be, because what's really truly meant to be, when you talk about the idea of the twin flame and all that, and the Hieros Gamos, is really that connection within. It's about having that full balance within yourself. That's also what the ultimate 0 point is. That really, coming and so this whole game that's kind of unwinding and playing out is that who am I, and sort of what part of me is showing up now, and what's the other part. And so the idea is trying to get those two masculine, feminine aspects, the mental, the spiritual, together in that 0 point now moment, right? Coming together, being there. And then from there, feeling, who am I, and what do I feel? What do I want to present? What do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right, on the earth. And so it's like a lot of stuff, but trying to get real simple about it. I feel, what's playing out is that ultimate, simply it's that place of getting to surrender and just feeling present, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling, being able to express those emotions of joy and love. And that's the game, right?
Well, I mean, but this type of discussion or commentary has been out there.
Sure.
And I just think it's, a point. We're at a point now. I told you this before. How much more information do we need?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science anymore. And, at what point are we going to, because it's really, to me, like, okay, for instance, if you say it's really about, which is true, balancing the masculine and feminine within yourself. And there's myriad of ways people will tell you how to do that. But I look at like the human experience day to day with the human fully present. And if we just cut through the bullshit, and I say, okay, I can look at, for instance, I'll use these hot topics. You look at Trump, you look at Biden as energies, as movements or as whatever, organizations, whatever. Sure. And you can look at them both one and the same. Something like that would someone that truly carries that frequency with no charge.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's easy or hard to do or whatever, but to me, that would demonstrate a frequency at or near divine union within themselves. If somebody has balanced the feminine and the masculine within themselves, I would think that particular person, soul, energy would be, would be 0 pointed, basically. Yeah. So, but one of the things that frustrates me, and I don't mean like I have a charge with it, I do at times, is well, let me give you an example. About 2 weeks ago, I put up a little meme. I just, you get inspired, you just put up a meme. I woke up one morning, what is this? What is this? And it just came through. And I just said, the Great Awakening has nothing to do with politics.
Sure.
And then a couple of things was interesting about that. There was about 700, people that engaged it. And there was a lot of comments, and I would have to say 90% of the comments were very impressive, not because I wrote something, but because I was pleasantly surprised that many of the people, the vast majority of the people, were like, yeah, let's get past this. So they kind of understood what I was saying. But there was also some that kind of went against it, and said, you're full of shit. And what I kind of got from it was what I'm seeing, which is those who, let's just say, are less visible, who are active in supporting the community through comments and engagements and so on, energy, love. I would say the masses, right? Mm-hmm. I was pleasantly surprised. They seemed to be like, let's get past this. We're bigger than this. This isn't even real. And then there's still a lot of, say, more visible platforms to me that are pushing separation. So, on one hand, it was kind of a surprise, the reaction I got from, say, a couple of larger platforms, but I was very, very pleasantly surprised at how people, overall, it's just my words, were saying, hey, let's get past this. Mm-hmm. And for me, Cathleena, it boils down to this, whether I'm looking at a political opposing view or person or platform and making comments, or I'm looking at a family member who I have problems with and making comments. I'm not looking at myself, number one. And number two, I'm in victim consciousness. Either I'm myself in victim consciousness, or I am pointing at people who are in victim consciousness. I don't know. So it's, to me, I'd like to see us get past it.
Well, I think that, I mean, I'm certainly past anything in my own energy. And I feel like that there is a huge amount of individuals that are, we'll call past it. I think that what we're seeing is the dialoguing and the minutiae that have to play out because we're on a time-space continuum. And there is an energy and frequency that's bouncing this ball. Now we do have two timelines, major timelines that are playing out, and one of which wants to keep the 3D dialogue going on and all of this sort of way in which life had been. And then there's a new one that's in the progression of actually creating. And so, you know, I think there's a huge energy, and that's why, to me, you know, a dialoguing is energy. So it's never just dialoguing. And I know that that's kind of in general, but it certainly is myself as this frequency alchemist, and the way in which it just simply works in my own energy is this constant bringing language into a neutrality as we're bringing it forward anyway. And so everything that we're doing, whether it's on this medium or any other medium, is constantly coming into that neutrality, so that these very confused frequencies that are sort of bridging the gap between this sort of past 3D, and we'll talk about the new creation coming in, that's what's getting balanced all the time. And, you know, ultimately, and we know this, right, but none of that matters, because it's still all the 3D game, you know, and anyone who is looking for somebody to step in and sort of save them and do this, they're still wrapped in that game. And but this has to play out, and this is where, when we come into that neutrality, that's where it's most important. When you talk about the non-judgment, you know, that's the most important. It's like recognizing that that's just simply part of this greater sort of plan, is part of the dynamic. It's just part of the unfolding, you know, of how something works. It's sort of like a ripple in the water that's going to continue, and it's going to ripple down in a certain way. It's just sort of the way that it goes. And I think that if we, you know, can all just sort of allow that to me is the bigger, you know, just what's unfolding, and be in the place of holding space as this continues to unfold and raise. You know, there's no words in general, as you know, I'm sure that, you know, words are purposely designed in the particular language, particularly the English language, is designed to keep a certain level of frequencies. You know, we on this planet have a very large range of it's all emotional frequencies available to us. And through historically, we've been basically guided to only be in a very small range of them, and including all the dialogue that's been playing out, you know, and a lot of it's through language. And so, you know, I think it's important that we hold a neutrality in our language, you know. I mean, it's really kind of an interesting thing, and that's why you're seeing this across the board, you know, this kind of idea of 0 point. To me, 0 point is the ultimate. It is the truth frequency. It's an actual frequency, and it is the place of no thing and all possibilities. And the ultimate 0 point is the place just before and just as you are birthed from source into the dark womb of source. So you're an aspect. And so that's the ultimate 0 point. Just before and just as you're being birthed. So it's not, and what's confusing about this idea, 0 point isn't even the right word, because it's not zero. It's really like all frequencies at their sort of perfect pitch, whatever that is, and non frequency at the same time. There's not even a word for it. And that's the real ultimate 0 point, which is why it's kind of an interesting thing. So that's why if we feel it, what it feels like is just being. And we don't know how to do that. I think that's the biggest thing. Humanity has not known how to just be. And this is all brand new to everybody. Yeah. And so there's this dialogue. And all we've known how to do is tell people how to be. And be my way and be your way. And because everything's about matching frequencies, right? That's all we're doing on this planet is matching frequencies to be comfortable. So wherever my comfort, that's why we have to get to quote unquote the 0 point, this truth place, this place of no thing and all possibilities. Because in that is the only place it's like brand new. There's no other influences, because at that point is when I'm not going to be me right, you wrong, any of that stuff. And so this is this kind of ultimate thing that humanity as a whole is stepping into. We're doing it, but we haven't known what it felt like, So of course there's, and so all that's happening is playing out because of the space-time continuum is the sort of residual frequencies that are floating around. Well, they're being fed too, because there still is a big agenda to have humanity stay in this whole imprisonment aspect, but it's really, we're creators, right? So it's not really like that, but there are frequencies that are very much playing out, just like you can't see all the little stuff that's floating in the air, that's the texting and everything that's going on. Well, there is a frequency of all of that that's in this particular frequency of, having you be judging and feeling that you're right or wrong, making you feel at a certain density. And so as we continue to be in this, kind of no thing, you're going to feel those frequencies around you. And so the goal is to keep breathing and not becoming them. You simply observe them. You simply allow them, let them play out, not become them. And that's the challenge that's going on right now. And it's amped up. It's definitely amped up. So
yeah, there's no doubt about that. Well, and then, okay, so there is, as we all can concur, I think, by whatever you want to call it, let's just say an agenda to keep us in this 3D or whatever. But there's also, which doesn't get the publicity, there's also an agenda to to convert, to transform to, let's just say, 5D or New Earth. And I just, would remind everybody and myself that that's a real thing. And it's been growing and growing and growing these last few years. And it's also accelerating. And I look at, regardless of the propaganda and all that stuff, you are seeing, I believe, the results of this less verbal or less, publicized agenda, which is us, which is all of us, which is our hearts. And I think what we're seeing here, regardless of propaganda, is there's a lot of collapsing going on. Yeah. You look at Russia, you look at the Netherlands, you look at Italy, PM just stepped down. Sure. We could just go right down the list. Sure. So there are results from the energetic force that we're creating and expanding. And I have to remind myself not to see those things as, oh my God, they're getting what's coming to them. Yeah. And see it more as a as a characteristic of the force that we've generated and are generating together. Several people, including Morgan, I say several, but 3 or 4 people, including Morgan, since the 21st, have talked about the grid lighting up, how there's been a huge burst of a further illumination of a real of a real difference, an influence that's hugely impactful that I think we're going to see over the next few weeks. Do you get any collective intel like that? Do you? Yeah. What are you feeling? Yeah. What are you hearing?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's huge. The amount of light that is exuding on the earth and within humanity is is enormous. And what it's doing is it's allowing for, light is information. So it's bringing in so much more information into the cellular body, into which then is dialoguing to every person, and it's making huge shifts. And definitely because we are one with the earth, what I'm experiencing is, and it's a lot with the clients that I'm working with, a lot of things that I've personally been doing, is a lot of recalibrating that's happening. So I'm watching a lot of geometries recoding and coming in, or reestablishing, I guess, this connection of our light, we as our soul light, with the actual ascension of Gaia herself. So it's like a recalibration that's going on. And so in that, it's allowing for a whole different range of frequencies, or let's just say a clearer range of the frequencies that we've already been experiencing. And the most prominent, of course, are in all of the emotional. So you're feeling levels now of really authentic freedom and safety, and these types of actual emotions are beginning to be felt. And like I said before, the thing is we don't really know, we don't have a point of reference of what those truly are, because we have something else that's been dense. Even we talk about language again, they say I only believe it when I can solidly believe it. Well, there's nothing solid, so it's kind of a funny thing. And so what I'm experiencing in this whole, yes, the grid systems and everything is lightening up to a point that it's new information, a lot of information, and that information that's coming in is recoding and shifting and balancing, recalibrating in a way that's making it almost like expand, right? It's kind of the idea is the expansion, of course, it's happening. But it's bringing in all these new, let's just say, greater awareness of everything, of who we are. And it's kind of funny because what the greater awareness is, the simplicity. And one thing I say a lot in the work that I do is that this is so easy yet so hard. And it's because the easy part is that all of this is simply just being who you are.
Yeah.
But that's also the hardest part, right?
Isn't that crazy though? Isn't it? I mean, crazy as in,
it seems,
as in that both the simple, profound truth, the dog chasing its tail, and also the gods, just the gods we are. Our higher aspects is kind of laughing about it because that, and I know that really sounds crazy. You heard people talking last year. They'd say, you don't have to do anything. Kamara was one of them. I saw her, I think in December or late November, over at Beth's, and she said to me, because I know Kamara pretty well, and like a lot of y'all, she's very connected. She's been doing this since the harmonic convergence in 1987 or even before. But she said to me, I keep asking my guides, what am I supposed to do? And they said, you don't have to do anything now, just be you, right? But you heard people talk about just being, and but it's ironic and a bit humorous to me, in an intelligent way, that all we got to do is be ourselves, and then that's really it. If I'm out there focusing on Trump, QAnon, Biden, all these theories getting thrown around, or spending all my time researching to validate my wishful thinking, because I think that's what it is. It's got to be this way. It's got to be true, because we've had so many things pulled out from under us. But then if I'm doing that, how the hell am I going to be me? Is that me? Or is that me still looking for an external fix, looking for my Jesus, or looking for my next whatever. But yeah, I think that ultimately, the way I understand it in my own personal journey, and I'm not saying it's the gospel, but the universe pretty much told me, 10 years ago, every damn thing that you believe in will be taken away from you if necessary. Every single thing, in order to get you to that point that you're talking about, which is Yeah, that's one thing about losing everything. You do lose the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
do.
yeah, because I think if humanity as a whole, and something that I certainly experience on my own, if I say to myself that I don't really know what this feels like, because I think that's the bottom line, is if we don't know what it feels like, then why do I think that this is what it is? And so then I can let go and try to actually have an experience, because this is the thing that is easy and hard, is that to have an actual experience, to have it be brand new. But this is the goal. And again, we talk about this sort of 0 point, this now moment without judgment. The thing is, what keeps happening is people get in the now moment, and then they can drop the judgment, maybe, if they can, right? But the frequency that they're in is still that very dense range, and it's in a place that begins to have them be concerned or worried or afraid, right? But what I'm suggesting to them in this now moment, and what these greater, we talk about what is the downloads of the greater frequencies. Well, the greater frequency is to be in that very childlike exploration, excitement mode. Like, why can't we do that? And that's the thing to do. So if you can be in the now moment, and instead of dialoguing, oh my God, this, that, whatever's going on, and go and start to just be in, like, if you're a brand new child here, and it's this beautiful exploratory, and imagine you know nothing, because you know nothing. See, this is again why it's simple and hard. If we can simply say, I know nothing, because I do know nothing, really. There's no thing. Remember, if I'm in the 0 point, there's no thing and all possibilities. So if I have nothing, I know nothing, then it can, why would I automatically go to this frequency? Because here's the thing that happens. And this is what's happening right now. So we go into that now moment where there's no thing. And the minute I step into something, there's two major things that occur. One is the frequency and energy of this collective that wants to keep humanity in prison. And so that energy is very dense. That is a fear frequency that goes zoom. And so that hits you the minute that you're in the no thing and you're stepping into actual experience. There is that frequency that's there. But at the same time, there's also the open, complete, because before there wasn't the open, beautiful exploration frequency of all things. That's the light. That's our awareness. That's what's been able to be now on the planet by the light. Prior to that, it wasn't, because the grid was closed. It was very inundated from this reptilian consciousness, all this other consciousness. But this is basically sort of the ascension aspect, is that now we have available, when we are able to be in the now moment without judgment, to actually experience full range of everything, of all things. And it's a choice. And so what happens is in that now moment, what you have to be aware of, did I just get pushed into my head? Because that's what occurs. That is what this consciousness is still here does. It controls the mind. So if you all of a sudden you're in the now moment and bam, you get shoved into your head, watch the frequency that happens. And if you can observe that for a moment, you'll be aware that my consciousness, myself, because I'm aligning, because I am energy, I'm frequency, and what I'm here to do is to match other frequencies and exchange information. That's what I'm doing. So if I'm in the now moment and I suddenly jump in my head, I've aligned to this frequency of fear. I can shift at any moment too. And this is the goal. What we have to do is practice this. It has to be a continual practice to kind of take charge of this experience. But if instead I'm in the now moment and I'm just in like curiosity and excitement and childlike exploration, then I'm in, this energy of all things. Then that's a difference from becoming a unconscious creator to a conscious creator. Yeah. And that's the goal, right? And that's how simple it is. It's really letting ourselves be happy, letting ourselves be excited, get in this now moment and be in that very inquisitive, exciting, like, what's next? What's going to come next? What am I going to create? Not, oh my God, what's going on? More being that, and you can feel it more and more. This is this gift of what's being inundated in the planet now.
Right on.
can actually feel that. Let's express that. Let's bring that. That's what I'm going to bring every time I show up. It's like, and when we're showing up on these mediums and doing these things, it's really important to be in this 0 point, in this expression, as best as you can. I mean, you can still express everything, but being in that internal sense of balance, is important because then that's the real way that I'm no longer playing that game. That's what I am right now, is I'm in the 0 point expressing to you. And I think you can feel it. There's no push or pull or anything going on in a direction. You can feel the difference in the way. And so this is, to me, is sort of the incremental step that humanity's doing in what we're calling the ascension process, is simply being in a neutrality, still expressing, but expressing in a place of neutrality, not in a place of persuasion. And one thing I've said, how to express this, is that 99% of communication is manipulation, which means that I'm not really communicating to you. I'm actually trying to put something in you or take something from you.
Mm-hmm.
What we're attempting to do is simply communicate. And notice when you do that, right? When you're in neutrality and you're communicating, it's so different in terms of what is able to be felt and expressed and so on, versus somebody has an agenda.
Yeah, and then we end up talking a lot less too, because there's not a lot has to be said. But if you think about our own journeys,
mm-hmm.
one of the first pieces typically of starting to touch that field of 0 point, or I call it soul highway, that middle ground, mm-hmm. is our parents, whether you knew them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, a lot of times, I've heard people say, I know I said it, that you get to a certain point in your life and you realize the similarities that you never thought were there and that you actually resisted of you and your parents is one aspect. That's not the whole thing, because some people, like say, didn't know their father or their mother, but there's still an impact there, and it still shapes you. What I'm trying to say is that I think the same would go for if we look at if we look at the whole consciousness, the whole collective consciousness. There are programs. There is suggestive programming. There are certain patterns of communication, to your point, which are, conscious or not, manipulation. And we have through osmosis adopted what we've been familiar with. And this is part of what we've had to kind of work out. So I think you bring up a really good point, in that you realize what you're saying, why you're saying it. It's almost like you're listening to yourself. Yeah. I know I had like a split last year where I split in half, and I was like, what the hell? I've seen other people talk in that regard as well. Kind of a weird, even painful scenario, but it's also a really good sign. But anyway, what I'm getting at is you're bringing up a good point, and that is, for me, to examine, what are you saying and why did you say that?
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's really great, because that's something that I ask myself all the time, even in what I'm doing, to help. I think to get to know who you are, you ask yourself, what is my motivation? Why do I want to do this? What is it really about? And that's how I sort of clean house, so to speak, of this. I'll keep referring to as like the 3D or the part of me that is not me. How I clean house from that, whatever I do, whether it's put out a course or come talk to you or anything that I do, is I sit with myself and I ask, what is my motivation? Am I truly in a place of that this is connected to me? It's really me, and I'm really participating in this, or is it, do I have an agenda for something? And if I have an agenda, I release that. It's like I don't desire to have an agenda. And it doesn't mean that you won't do things. It doesn't mean that you won't make money at it, or you won't create something. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that it's authentic to you. And when it's authentic to you, you're vibrating at a very different rate. And it's a very different, it's the way in which we disengage from this whole matrix of manipulation and control.
Yeah. Which we're part of. Right. So it's not like bad guy, good guy thing either. So like take an example like this, right? Because many of us, with the level of consciousness we have, to include our blind spots, we're pretty good because we've come up in this environment, and that's how the communication's gone, including with ourselves. So let's say, for instance, as an example, it's going to be a weird example, but okay, let's say we go to have lunch. And I was raised in the South, and I opened the door for you to go into the restaurant, right? And if I'm in that mode of self-examination, I might say to myself, why do I open the door for women or people? And then immediately the voice comes in and says, because you're a nice guy. Okay, well, I'm going to just put that to bed. I'm done. But I think this is where we're at. Like, to go to the next level and say, well, wait a minute, I'm a nice guy based on whose perspective, whose opinion, right? Now, there might be a part of me, and this is an interesting kind of a example, that from my heart, I enjoy that. I enjoy being courteous, but it's still worth an examination as to why I think makes me a nice guy. Like, who said that? Right. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, because I do feel like people are going to the next levels and are, going a little deeper.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I love that example because that's so great, because it's both, right? It's like, and that's so perfect. What you just did there is you looked at, so why? And it's like a story. Oh, does this make me a nice guy? Well, no, I am a nice guy when you know who you are and you enjoy it, and so it was both. And that's the part that we do. We begin to get to know ourselves. It's like, I could say, I know I have a beautiful, loving heart, and I want to always come from that. But have I always come from that? Well, maybe not. Maybe I've been motivated from a different way. It doesn't mean I don't have a loving heart. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy certain things, but I haven't necessarily always been motivated to come from that perspective. And so now it's like recognizing all those things and then allowing yourself to just be yourself. I mean, let me tell you, why to me, why this is easy and why I love it is because it just feels better. It takes away this feeling of responsibility towards something. Like, on the other side of the coin, I mean, I've been tended to be more, if I'm presenting something to somebody, to be more careful about what it does to them. And when, and that it makes it challenging for me. But if I'm just in a place of neutral, then whatever it does to them, I'm not responsible for. And ultimately not anyway, right? But if I've got that dialoguing going on, that's arduous to me. That's something that feels, and I felt that energy. And this is what we carry around. And that energy is what is perpetuating that fear and that tension and all the stuff that's going on. And this is the more subtle stuff, right, that we carry.
Well, it is subtle. That's the whole point. And just like you said about the heart, like your heart, that feeling. We know that feeling. Hey, this just feels right. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But by the same token, let's look at this example. For every single one of us, right? You, me, everybody. Think of the person that you have a grudge with. Oh, I don't have any grudges with anybody. Okay, well then think of the person that you make an ugly face, because that feeling that you get in your heart is no different to detect than when you don't like somebody, or you're in that non-zero point space when they're presented in front of you or you think about them. So these things, I can see for myself, and I think it's got to be happening. Is these old grudges, these old things are coming back. They're coming back. And we've talked about this over the years. Everybody has the loops that return that you haven't resolved. But I really feel like we're being taken to a deeper level, that, the universe is holding our feet to the fire and saying, look, you're going to be oneness or you're not. And there's no exceptions to this. And I know that sounds a bit, whatever, idealistic, but we're not talking about ideals here. We're talking about truth. And like you said, the truth carries a frequency regardless of what form it comes in.
Yes. And I think that in my personal experience about that, and this has definitely been coming up with a lot of people I'm working with, it's about actually genuinely feeling, because like I said before, is that we've only been encouraged to have a certain range of feelings, and then we've been told that these are what they are. And I could go into much more detail about that, but I won't so much now. But let's just imagine that, we've been told what love is, and say an easy example might be, well, love is money or something. And so if I don't have money, then I don't have love. And so, and if you feel whatever that energy feels like to money, imagine it's a tangible thing. It's not something that you feel, right? So here's how you've defined this energy. Well, if you have that as your definition, and then you may never really know what actual self-love, because actual self-love is a level where you allow for all of your emotions to be felt.
Yeah.
And so all of your anger, all of your sadness, all of your truth being felt is the ultimate pure love. It's the frequency of love, and it's the understanding of absolute self-love. And that is not what this individual might be defining as love. And so this is what is happening for us when you talk about this circle effect and sort of your stuff coming up, is that it's always been coming up. It's been coming up forever throughout all of humanity, but we've been guided to send it in a particular direction. And I always say we've been guided because we are the creator beings. We've created all of this. Nobody has forced us to do it. We've done it. Now, not to say that there hasn't been some free will infringement, that there is going on, but it's still been, ultimately, we are gods and creator beings. So we can still shift these energies at any time.
Yeah.
So we've also ultimately created this. But what we're really talking about here, and I'm trying to keep it real simple if we don't get very esoteric in language, is all you have to do is allow yourself to truly, truly feel, and stop staying at the point of dialoguing, where we go, oh yeah, I remember that, I felt that, I've been mad about that. Well, let me tell you something. If you're still bringing it up and you still feel it, you haven't felt it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go in deeper. If it's still triggering you, you have not felt it.
Yeah.
So something else there.
And the trigger could just be a little grumble in your stomach. Yeah. One of like that thing, that kind of dismissive, and we've all been there too. It's like, oh, I know that. I know that already.
Exactly. Well, the minute that you do that, you haven't. And so,
well, of course. Yeah. If you have to say something, yeah, you're still not convinced, basically. What about this one? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I really feel like this is where we're going. Mm-hmm. And that is every label, what we consider ourselves, what we call ourselves.
Yes.
I personally feel that every label will be removed. It will be like, it just won't fit. Like, it'll leave us like, hi, I'm Todd. I am this, well, I am just, like you said, how do you get to no thing? How do you get to nothing? I am nothing.
Yeah.
To be everything.
Yeah.
And I just think because this is such a literal experience, because it's so physical, mm-hmm. that this is how we were talking last night, Morgan and I said, it's like, we're talking about our own situation, our own experience, our own, activations and so on. We've had some pretty powerful stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And I said, it just seems to me like the deeper you go into the human, the more you have available in the multidimensional or the Akashic or whatever you want to call it. Like, this is crazy. I mean, it's like I've got to really dig down and remove, like in this example, remove myself, as, being, or telling people, I am this and I am that. I really feel like that's going to all go away.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've got a course that's I'm in the process of teaching, and part of the thing is about the mirror, and it's really that's what it is. It's about what is my mirror, and you can walk in front of a mirror and go, okay, well, what do I see? It's also, what do I see, hear, touch, taste, smell, whatever. And then it's like, okay, so when I see something and I've identified, what is that identity? What is that meaning? What is the energy? What is the frequency? What is the emotion that I am owning by that? And is that me? And how does that make me feel? And that's the levels that we're going deeper. And when you talk about the labels, that's what it is. It's like if I identify myself as a woman or whatever, and then I say, okay, well, what is that representing to me? What is that? Is it a word? Is it a person? Do I get a vision? What is this representation? What is the energy? How am I playing this out? What is it? Is it aligned in a frequency with me? Is there, it's kind of like unfolding all of that, and it can happen. It does happen very, very rapidly. And this is one of the things that the downloads that are all coming in now is us beginning to unfold and unwind. Yes, what are these labels that we've been given, and why? Because again, it's all been part of an agenda to keep you in a particular mold and role. Everything's kind of in that. And what's happening now is we're just breaking out of all of that. And but the one thing I will say is that there is an alignment. So it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. As you said, we came here for this experience, and even though there is this whole agenda going on, there is an alignment from your soul and who you are with everything in your life, and it will, there, and some are very authentic and some are not as authentic, but it's not like all of your life is not authentically you. That's not true. We came in specifically that is aligning with our soul purpose and part of aspect of ourselves. That is happening. And so what we're doing is it's like a fine tuning, and that's why this whole game's been able to play out, is because it's had enough truth with the confusion that it's allowed us to create and stay in these kind of funky ways, right? And all that's happening now is we're just fully breaking out of that. And and I think that's the most important thing for people to realize, right? So
I'd say, well, as as indicated by change, because it's the change is out of our hands now. There's too much awareness, so it's just I'm ready. Just bring it on. I just say rip the Band-Aid off and bring it on. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to physically expire and, jump into the next incarnation or do whatever my soul decides to do. But you also bring up a good point. I just want to go back to that real quick. And obviously I'm big on the human. The human is the hero. But I like what you said, because the soul is guiding, right? Like, we all, as at that level, okay, we all designed this. So that agenda that's trying to keep you were part of the brainstorm that came up with this design, this brilliant design to get us to these points of new choices and new creations and so on. But it's the human part of us coming in, not so much giving the soul control, but knowing the soul has control, and then falling in line with it and kind of merging your free will with, let's call the soul's will, divine will, and just cooperating and not resisting and not judging, right? Like you were talking about. So and then again, I always try to take, all the complications in. I try to take everything in and not necessarily try to understand it, but fill my field with that information and data. And then I try to come out of it. Just what's the simplest way to do this? And I think really, especially after spending this hour with you, is like something that's been coming to me. And like I said, people have been talking about, just be me.
Yeah.
Like what do I want to do? Who do I want to be with?
Yeah.
What do I want to put out there? And it's crazy, but it's true. It really is. I mean, think about it. Everybody just walked around to their own beat, and that's harmony.
Yeah, and when you allow yourself to discover that, because that's where we are. We're in the discovery phase of what that is. And I think when we can, and I don't know, this 100%, but I tend to feel that it probably is true that when us as a soul recognizes this divine now moment in the present moment, there is so much euphoria if you allow yourself to be in that really childlike energy, that in that euphoria is this amazing energy of desiring to be not only with everybody else, but, just contribute to the earth and just be a part. That's just my feeling of it. Whenever I've stepped to that divine zero point, it's so pronounced that I can't imagine that humanity, it isn't automatic. And I believe that is the essence of this whole experience, that we are just starting to awaken to, that this was the divine plan, right? And so it wouldn't be the selfishness and the blind, all that stuff. That's all part of the false agenda, but that you don't have to try to find it. You don't have to search out, how can I help humanity? It's like you step in, your heart just bursts open, your whole being comes into the center as this oneness, because you feel it. It's just suddenly that is the oneness. It's just boom, and you feel this beautiful oneness of the earth and everything. And there's this excitement to connect with you. Like I feel you, and I'm like, oh, I love Todd. You know what I mean?
Is that you touching me right now?
That's it.
Behave yourself. I personally, my bet's on that we're all going to have our minds blown.
Yeah.
And the old adage, truth is stranger than fiction. It doesn't just apply to the distortions and the bad things. It applies to the good things. It applies to the what we might call the supernatural aspects of us, or the different attributes of the soul that are at least at a minimum, in my opinion, have the potential to become physical in the deepest ways. We've got a back-to-back. We got Franco De Nicola's coming in the house in a few minutes, like 5 minutes. But I just want to let everybody know that we're going to jump back on. But I put up your two websites. Okay. So you got frequencyadjuster.com. It's on all the platforms. And CathleenaHailley.com, which, if memory serves me correct, they take you to the same place, right?
I know. I actually have a website up now. And
you have a new one?
I do. I got it up.
What's the name of it?
It's the CathleenaHailley.com.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. Yeah.
I have a course that's coming up that's starting on February 9th, and it's an activation course that you can visit that. You can find out about it on the Cathleena Hailley.
What's the name of it?
Restoring Your Human Template.
Restoring your human template.
To the truth frequency. It's a little
to the truth frequency. This is a course. How long does it last?
It's a 5-week. It's an activation course, 1 night a week, starting February 9th. And
very cool.
Find out about that.
Starts Feb 9th.
February 9th.
Feb 9.
Yeah. And I want to mention one other thing that there's nothing on it yet, but I just started a Facebook group that I'm calling Light Seeds. And what I want to do is I want to get people to start to do little videos all over the world of happy places about where they are, and just make a video of whatever your family of what we're kind of calling sort of the new earth, but bringing in this happy, joyous hope frequency. And I want to see if we can't get like tons so that we can connect people together. And I personally would like to travel around the earth and meet these people. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. I'm going to set that up. It's called Light Seeds right now. It's nothing on it, but just look for the group. Well,
I just posted it on all the platforms, so you should get some people over there.
Thank you. I would love that, because it's going to be fun. I think it's
awesome. Who knows? Maybe I'll see you in the flesh sooner than later.
I would love that. Yeah.
Passing through, or you passing through, or something. We're only 2 hours away from each other.
I'll come look for you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's good to see you again. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing and being open with us. And until the next time.
All right, beautiful.
Beloved sister.
Thank you. All right.
All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes.